guys, it's Julia. Welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be your monthly anti-haul in a little bit of a different formula because I'm going to be doing a get ready with me while I film the anti-haul. I've already filmed the video, so I know it's going to be chaotic. Editing Julia has a task. But I figure it's not going to be any different from your regular anti-haul. I'm going to be just doing my face in the background, and as usual in any of my get ready with me's, not talking about the products I use because I suck. Part of today's video is kindly sponsored by Odin, so we'll get to that later on in the video. But I hope you guys enjoyed this month's anti-haul. There were a lot of things to go through. I feel like makeup brands have been picking up and resuming production again. I don't know, I was kind of hoping that the pandemic would really slow down new makeup releases, but things are speeding back up again, so there's a lot of things to go through today. Today I'm wearing my Morning Glory merch t-shirt today. I haven't worn this on my channel in a while, so here she is. Dear Fairy today is Crystal Moth. Thank you so much for having your notification bell on. Beautiful. I love moths. That is all I have to say. Without further ado, let's get this roast a-cookin'. Let's go. Is that a good intro?
No.
Buongiorno, let's get started. Okay. Figured I'd talk about a primer as I do my primer. I am using the Becca First Light Primer, one of my favorite dewy primers, but today we're roasting something from Too Faced. Somebody tagged me in the Too Faced Plump and Prime Face Plumping Primer, $42. They're also coming out with a bunch of different shades of their plumping lip glosses, so I guess it's supposed to be with that launch. The first thing I thought of when I saw this primer was who TF wants a plumping face primer. I guess I can understand the appeal of like wanting your skin to be very moisturized because that would imply that it's like plumped up and ready to go for foundation, but all I can really think of is the fact that Too Faced lip glosses, the plumping lip injection glosses, are one of the most painful lip plumping glosses I've ever used. Those, like, if you like a stinging gloss, those are definitely the way to go. I don't know if the primer is supposed to necessarily do the same thing as the plumping glosses, but like, if I know anything about Too Faced plumping products is that they sting and burn, and I don't want that on my face. Plus, am I the only one who feels like this is a little bit expensive for Too Faced? Like, generally I feel like Too Faced complexion products, for example, like Peach Perfect, this is $36 for foundation. This is $42 for the primer, which I feel like primers generally are less expensive than foundations. So Too Faced kind of getting up there in price. I haven't bought from Too Faced in like a year and a half. I think the last thing I bought from them was the Natural Lust palette, which I do use pretty regularly, but I haven't been interested and I wouldn't really want to buy anything new from Too Faced anyways. I just noticed that the description on Trendmood says that it's a skincare product too. Okay, let's move on. Next thing I want to talk about is a launch that I actually think is really interesting, but the other thing is a no, so that's why I'm including it in the anti-haul section. This Becca Zero No Pigment collection. So it includes a foundation that's basically like a clear balm. Technology is basically called the Clear Light Blur technology, which is supposed to, instead of giving you like pigmentation coverage, it supposedly blurs the imperfections across your face, so acting as a smoothing filter on your skin rather than delivering like a coverage product. It does seem a little bit gimmicky, kind of reminds me of that like Almay like white foundation that was supposed to blend into your natural skin tone, except nothing like that ever did actually color match. So my big fear with this product is that it could be like that, but I feel like if this technology actually works, this could be a game changer for the foundation industry. And honestly, I feel like it could look a lot more natural than a coverage product would. So I'm kind of excited about this, and I definitely want to test this out. But still, let me know if you would like to see me test out this product. I think it could be really, really interesting, and I'd be very interested to see how this works on, in particular, darker complexions. So I'm interested in the No Pigment Virtual Foundation. I just think that the technology behind it is really cool. What I'm going to anti-haul is the Becca Zero gloss highlighter in the collection. I thought this was a clear lip gloss, but it's basically just a clear highlighter that's supposed to catch the light in a different way. I fail to see how this is any different from like a typical face gloss would be. I think there are actually a lot of things pretty similar to this that are a lot less pricey. So for example, the Tower 28 Super Dew No Shade Highlighter, this doesn't have like a base color to it, it's just pretty much pure gloss, which I feel like this is what that is, but they're kind of marketing it as having this technology. So, plus I just haven't had the best of luck with like face gloss type products. I feel like they generally do not work with coverage products, but I feel like if you used it with this no pigment foundation, that could be different. So maybe. I just like to see Becca doing something different. A lot of people in the comment sections were like, this seems really cool. I think Jackie Aina was also talking about this launch. I personally would rather use something that like just blurs the natural pigmentation of my skin rather than using an all over coverage product. I feel like this kind of product could pan out to be a really nice, natural, actual skin-like looking thing, which I haven't found from many foundations. I didn't mention them in the category, but in my Get Ready With Me, somebody asked about like makeup brands I think are kind of circling the drain. And I talked about Cover FX. I think Becca has been in kind of a similar boat where they haven't really done anything super fresh. The last thing I really enjoyed from Becca was their Skin Love collection, and after that I feel like they haven't really done anything super unique. They've just been coming out with the same highlighters in different packaging, but this I'm very excited about. I am wired right now. I'm so sorry. Next up is another foundation, and this is from Colourpop. So Colourpop is coming out with a new foundation called the Pretty Fresh. I actually never ended up testing out the Pretty Fresh tinted moisturizer, which honestly I think would be right up my alley, but I haven't gotten around to buying it on the Colourpop website. And then when I go on there, my shade is always sold out, so I would still love to test out the tinted moisturizer, but they're coming out with a new foundation, medium buildable coverage with a natural dewy finish, which sounds... The reason this is in the anti-haul is that right now I'm probably not gonna buy it. I honestly don't want to really buy any new foundations except for this like Becca one that I mentioned, but that's just for like curiosity purposes. I also have not had the best of luck with Colourpop's foundations in the past. So their no filter foundation, the liquid one, disgusting. The stick foundation was a little bit better, but I just don't like the way that sticks look on my skin. And then the no filter concealer I don't like on my under eyes. I do like it all over my face though, so I've wanted to test out the Pretty Fresh concealer for a while as well. So the claims sound good, but I just don't know if Colourpop complexion products really agree with my skin. Next up is this Urban Decay Stoned palette. As in, I'm pretty sure that the creative direction team was stoned when they came up with this, because who, despite seeing everybody on Trendmood complaining about palettes with pressed glitters for the past like year and a half, who decided that coming out with an entire palette of pressed glitters was a great, amazing idea. If this was like textured metallics and not pressed glitters, this would be, I think, a game-changing release, and I think this would be huge for them. The packaging is absolutely stunning. I think they do a really good job with packaging 99% of the time. The Naked Honey palette obviously is amazing. I think they invest a lot of time into the packaging of their products. Colors are also really pretty. I think this could be a beautiful palette if you A, like pressed glitters, and B, you just want something that can provide a lot of really pretty lid shades. I think this is gorgeous. I wonder, how do you guys feel about palettes with brushes? Because this one has a pretty small brush. It's kind of similar to the brushes that are in the Naked palettes, just a little bit shorter. I know a lot of people don't like palettes with brushes in them. I don't mind them. The ABH palettes come with brushes in them, and I actually kind of like the brushes that come inside the palettes, but I do wonder how you guys feel, because I know a lot of people throw away the Anastasia palette brushes, which I would buy off you. It kind of makes me wonder, like, do pressed glitters actually sell really well? Because brands keep coming out with them, and I feel like a lot of us within like the makeup beauty community on YouTube really don't like pressed glitters. But then also this is a really colorful palette, and most regular consumers don't buy shades like this, so I wonder where Urban Decay's head is at. Possibly stoned. Next up on my list, I don't remember. Okay, no, I remember why these are on here. So the e.l.f. liquid glitter eyeshadows. Basically, e.l.f.'s coming out with their own version of the Stila glitter and glow eyeshadows, but in their own formula. It says that they're gel-based formulas, but from what I can tell, especially from the comments, most people who already have these say that they're basically an exact dupe of the Stila glitters. $5 each, which I think is awesome. Stila's glitters were like $24. They might have even raised in price since then. The last time I bought a Stila glitter, which was a long time ago, it was $24 for a single shade, which I thought was astronomically expensive for a single eyeshadow. Liquid glitter shadows, specifically the Stila ones, I feel like give you a really unique effect. However, I don't think that Stila ones are worth it just because they dry out really quickly. So while I'd be spending like $24 for a glitter and glow, it would dry out within like a good 6 months of me using it. These ones are $5, so I feel like this is a lot more worth it. I probably won't be buying any of these personally just because, again, they will dry out. Even though they are $5, I still don't want to be spending even $5 on a product that's going to go bad pretty quickly. But it looks like they do have a lot of really pretty shades, particularly this purple is calling my name. I was just thinking about it, girl. I'm not gonna do it. Charlotte, I live in your brain rent-free for the rest of time, Tilbury. Charlotte Tilbury is coming out with these new, what looks to be really beautiful cream blushes in the Pillow Talk family, which I have one thing from. I have a mini Pillow Talk lipstick. It's a beautiful shade. They definitely do, it's basically their version of the Naked family. So they basically just milk the Pillow Talk concept until it's dead. Charlotte Tilbury is coming out with the Pillow Talk Lip and Cheek Glow, which is a cream blush and lip tint. I probably would just use it for cream blush. I probably wouldn't use it on my lips, but still, beautiful packaging. It seems to be pretty small pans as well, so kind of like the Kaja new cream blushes. However, the Kaja one, you get 2 pans and it's $18 for both. These are $40 each. They do look really beautiful though. I really like Charlotte Tilbury's cheek products in particular. The Hollywood contour stick comes to mind. It's beautiful. I really love the way that it contours. I don't think it's worth the amount of money, but I will relish it and enjoy using it until it's gone. For these cheek tints, I'm putting my foot down unless Samantha Ravindell raves about them, in which case it's no. And I'm 99% sure I will stick to that.
Your version of 90 anyways is just unacceptable.
$40. It used to be like kind of charming. I used to feel like Charlotte Tilbury's prices were like, okay, yeah, she charges a lot, but you know, her products are really good and it's like, it's her aesthetic. Now I'm just like, I'm gonna do my eyebrows and I'm gonna try and do them while I talk to you guys. Number 6 on the list is Ofra. The fuck is this shit? Ofra just announced their summer collection, which looks exactly the same as every collection they've come out with beforehand, except for this little tiny 5-pan palette that has some bright shades in there, but besides that, it's the same picture. Speaking as somebody who has tried Ofra's eyeshadow formula, both neutral and colorful, I think $59 is a big ask. This big pro palette full of neutral shades, it's $59. I could see somebody like a pro makeup artist enjoying this color scheme. However, I think that you can definitely get better eyeshadow formulas for a lot less money, and kind of reminds me of that Colourpop the Bare Necessities palette, which I think is $35. These little smaller 5-pan palettes are actually pretty cute. I like the peachy one on top. I think that one's really, really pretty. Kind of reminds me of that little Marc Jacobs coconut eyeshadow palette that they came out with. And then this bright palette has some fun shades in there. I don't really love Ofra's colorful formula very much. I feel like it's a formula that can work, but it takes a lot of building to get there. But I do think that the prices on these ones are pretty fair. They're $29 each, which I think is decent. I think $25 would be a little bit more fair, but not the worst. And then the cheek palette that they're coming out with, I know it's supposed to be like a little bit more of a cool tone version of what they usually do, but to me it just looks like the same thing that they always do. Ofra, I think, has a lot of potential as a brand, honestly. Their formulas are really good, specifically for their cheek products. They were definitely one of the first brands to come out with like liquid lipsticks that were not matte and not super drying. Kind of reminded me of a little bit of an upgraded formula of the Colourpop Ultra Satin Lips. So I do really like a lot of their products that they offer. I just don't like their ideas and the execution of them. Okay, Trendmood's caption says this has been a highly anticipated collaboration. Has it though? Kylie has finally collaborated with Kendall to come out with the Kendall and Kylie eyeshadow palette. So she's already gone through all of her sisters, I think multiple times. Now all that's left is like Rob. So waiting for that. The Kendall and Kylie palette, 15 shades. It's a decently sized palette. I actually really like the layout of it. Pretty much all neutrals with a few pops of kind of like tropical, very like pastel bright colors. Color scheme wise, I actually really like this. It's been a while since I've tried Kylie's eyeshadows. The last thing I had from them was the purple palette, which I decluttered a long time ago, and I know they do change their formula very often. I will say I don't think that their formula is the same as Colourpop's. In my opinion, their formula is a lot less powdery, and I think their metallics are a little bit more like creamy. I don't think it's an ugly palette. In fact, I would say it's probably the prettiest color scheme that Kylie's come out with in a long time. $42, which I don't think Kylie's eyeshadows are necessarily worth that price tag. I do like her shimmer formula, but it seems like it's a mostly matte palette with like 2 mattes with micro glitters, which is not my thing. The reason I wanted to include this is because Trendmood included swatches, and I know, like I can just feel in my soul that the yellow is not going to look like that in real life. Okay, what blush should I use? I have an entire list of all my blushes in my collection, and I'm just checking off. I'm trying to do a similar thing to my palette series and just make an effort to use every blush that I have. So today we're going to use... Go with the Kaleidos Peach. The next one I'm throwing in here, I don't know who needs to hear this, but you do not need the new Gucci bronzer. I can very much guarantee that if this was not in Gucci packaging, nobody would be interested in it. Plus, as you go into some of the darker shade offerings, it looks like reddish, which makes me suspect that they did not have anybody with actual melanin in their skin consulting on the development of these shades. It is a $62 bronzer. I think something very similar would be the Milani matte bronzers, but I think a lot of these designer makeup releases that have been coming out recently are aimed at people who want to own something from the brand. If you truly want to buy the bronzer for the bronzer, go ahead, but if you want to buy the bronzer because you want to own something from Gucci, I don't think that this is the way to go. And we'll talk about this later with the YSL eyeshadows, but you don't need the bronzer. Plus it has one of those like Physicians Formula butter bronzer type brushes that everybody hates. So we're going to take a quick intermission in the anti-haul lane because this portion of the video is sponsored by Odin's Eye, and I'm going to be using the Alva palette for today's eyeshadow look. So this palette, I talked about it in my Odin's Eye full review of the brand as well as my current favorites video recently. This palette for me has been on repeat, especially for work days honestly, which you wouldn't necessarily think of because the look that I did with this palette in the Odin's Eye review video was like very not work day. I think that's the beauty of this palette, that you can do a lot with this one. You can do like a really beautiful like punchy pink eye look, or you can do something very subtle. I thought today I would do a very different look from the last video that I did with this one and make something a little bit more subtle using some of the more neutral shades in here. So that's what we're doing today. When I'm doing neutral eye looks, I tend to go for brushes that are a little bit fluffier than I would if I was doing a more like colorful eye look. With colorful looks, I like to just have a lot more control, so I tend to use things that are a little bit smaller or just more densely packed so I can really control where the color goes. Whereas with neutral colors, I really just want a really nice soft overall diffused look, hence going for a little bit of a fluffier, just bigger brush in general. This is the AOA Studio E127 and it's my favorite for crease shades. I'm going to start off by going into Jasmine. This on me is a transition shade. For others it might be like a lid setting shade, but just something mid-toned. I like to go for something just a hair darker than my natural eyelid color to go for transition. The mattes in the Odin's Eye palettes are really nice. Not a ton of kick up, as you can see. They kind of remind me of a little bit less of a powdery version of the ABH mattes. ABH's mattes are really pigmented, but have a lot of powdered kick up. These are a little bit more of a densely packed version of that. So I feel like if you don't like the powdery kick up of ABH shadows, you'll probably really like this matte formula. So I'm just swooping that pretty much like all over my crease and then just kind of flicking it out this way. And then again, using another fluffy brush. This is from Alter Ego. I'm going to reach into Morning Glory. This can look really pink if you pair it with the other like pink matte shades in here, or look pretty brown if you pair it with Jasmine. It's one of those shades that's really versatile and just depends on what you pair it with. So I'm just taking the smallest amount. These are really pigmented, so a little goes a long way, and then blend it in really, really softly. The tiniest amount, and just on the outer corner of my lower lash line. Just kind of blend it upwards. For my lid shades, I love using my fingers with this formula. The shimmers in the Alba palette are a really beautiful, very metallic, almost wet looking effect on the eyes. I'm going to grab the shade here called Golden Tulipa. This I'm just going to deposit on the pretty inner corner of my eye and then blend it outwards into the middle of my lid. The metallics in this palette in particular are probably my favorite formula that Odin's Eye has for eyeshadows, but I love their mattes as well. I think this palette gives you the best of all the formulas that they offer. I'm going to grab Cosmos, which is this beautiful kind of coppery shade. Just pat that on right next to it. It's a metallic, it's not a pressed glitter, but it has these little flecks of glitter in it where I feel like that pick up really nicely, just give a little bit of extra shine to the lid. So I like having this color on the highest point of my eyelid. Okay, last but not least, my favorite part, I really like taking shimmery shades like this that are a little bit darker and using them to kind of do a very shimmery but subtle winged liner. Kind of takes brown liner to the next level, but it makes it a little bit softer and blends the shimmer in with the rest of the shimmer shades. I start the wing on the very middle part of my eye, like right above where my pupil is, and then just flick it outwards. I used to just not really use darker shimmer shades, particularly darker brown shimmer shades in palettes, but I really like doing kind of like smoked out shimmery liners or pseudo liners with them recently, and I think it's so pretty. I love that the kind of trend of brown liner has come back in. And then just to finish up, I'm going to grab Carnation and pop that onto my inner corner. I didn't use two of my favorite metallics in here today, so Lilac and Dandelion. Both of these have a kind of like purple shift to them where they just look insanely beautiful and dimensional in the eyes. Like, that is my look with the Alba palette. Thank you again to Odin's Eye for sponsoring this part of the video, but let's get back to the anti-haul because I'm done talking about products I love. Alright, next up is an eyeshadow that when I saw on Trend Mood, I was like, I've definitely seen that palette before, but it is in fact a new palette. Viola Voss is coming out with a new palette called the Sakura Blossom palette, which, the name. This color scheme I don't think is anything we haven't seen before from many other brands. It actually reminds me a lot of the Colourpop, I think it was the Karuchi collaboration called the Femme Rosa palette. Reminds me a lot of that, but with sakura instead of roses. I used to own that palette. I did declutter it a while ago. It also reminds me a lot of their Holy Grail palette, which is probably their most famous palette that they had. I don't love Violet Voss's eyeshadow formula is the thing. Oh, it also reminds me of the Jaclyn Hill Volume 2 palette. Violet Voss's mattes are not my favorite formula. I feel like they can be very, very patchy. Particularly, I would be very concerned about the like purple shade in here. I'm not particularly inclined to get this one. I love the theme, but we're gonna pass on this one. And then another palette that I got tagged in a lot was the new Melt, Cheese, and Parties palette. I guess they're just gonna continue doing this thing where they're coming out with their eyeshadow stacks in palette form. They did it with the Rest palette earlier this year. I think this is like the third or fourth palette they're coming out with this year. I don't know how I didn't notice it, but Melt is coming out with a lot of releases this year. I feel like they're kind of going down the road of what Anastasia did last year, which I do not want to see them do. This palette's pretty. I do really, really like the packaging. It is very shimmer heavy, and I also don't love the way that darker eyeshadows look on me right now, so I'm passing on this one. It's not the worst, but it's not the best. Okay, Sorry. Next on the list, we have a release that I most definitely thought was Hourglass, but it's not. This is Makeup Revolution.
Yes. Are you calling me?
No. I said They're coming out with new bronzer, blush, and highlight face palettes, which I think look really, really beautiful. They have that kind of marbled effect that the Hourglass ambient lighting powders do. Visually, these look gorgeous, especially that like darker blush palette. That is so stupidly stunning. I'm not going to be picking these up because I have the highlighter palette that they're trying to dupe from Hourglass, as well as a like face palette from Hourglass from the holiday collection. It's not exactly the same as these, but I have that one. I'm trying to use it up right now. I don't know how the formula is going to be. I think it may just be like visually similar to Hourglass, but I'm not sure how the formula is going to compare. But I think that darker face palette is absolutely stunning, and I would love. Also, it says it's from XX Revolution. I know Revolution has like a bunch of different like brands under their umbrella, but I'm so confused. They've got like regular Makeup Revolution, they've got Revolution Pro, they have I Heart Revolution, they have another one that I don't remember the name of. I would love more consistent branding, but I think that these are absolutely beautiful. This is the Clio Prism Air Highlighter. It's kind of like the Korean version of the Amrezy highlighter, sorry. Next thing I want to talk about are these YSL clutch palettes. They're called the Couture Color Clutches, and they're basically 10-pan palettes inside this absolutely stunning packaging that looks like a YSL purse. So I fully was like, maybe I'll get these just so I can carry them around as like a YSL clutch bag. But I don't like the color schemes inside. Top one in this picture I think is pretty, but it just feels like something is missing. And then the bottom one just, I don't know, something about having a yellow and a silver next to each other just freaks me out. I feel like these are not going to be the best formula, first of all, and then also they're £80 each, which is $110 in US dollars. Which is stupid. If these color schemes came out from Makeup Revolution or Colourpop, I don't think that anybody would be interested, and if they didn't have this kind of like purse-inspired outer packaging, I don't think anyone would be interested. And then the last thing I want to speak about, Colourpop is back in production, so that means they're going to be restocking a lot of the collections that sold out before quarantine began, and that means that they're restocking the Sailor Moon collection and the Mulan collection. I really, really enjoyed the Mulan collection, pretty much enjoyed everything except for like the lip mask. I didn't think it was 100% worth it, but I don't think it's awful either. But I feel like the Sailor Moon collection restock has been getting a lot of hype, especially because it sold out like really quickly, I think within a couple hours when it was first launched. I think that they really dropped the ball in terms of quality on this collection, which is very disappointing because I feel like Colourpop generally is very consistent with their quality. I feel like their limited edition collections and their collaborations usually follow the same formula that their regular eyeshadow palettes do. The eyeshadow palette was the most disappointing thing for me. I just thought that the formula in there was really, really not good, and I think that's the main thing that people have been trying to get. As of now, the only thing I really still have in my collection is the matte blush. I've given everything else to my friends. But yeah, I just wanted to mention the Sailor Moon restock. I know it's been very hyped up over the past couple of months, but in my opinion, it's just not good quality or what I would expect from Colourpop, and I'm pretty disappointed about that. Just to finish off the video, I want to talk about 3 releases that I actually am pretty interested in. Might not necessarily be picking them up immediately, but 3 things I do like. Besides the Becca Elon Musk ass weird futuristic foundation. Number 1, huge congratulations to Robbie Christie for her collaboration with Pure. I love that they did 2 different color schemes for the eyeshadow palette. It looks like it's a double-sided palette, so really good pricing as well. $34 for that many shades is awesome. This collection, I just think, is a perfect reflection of what Christie represents, and I think you can just definitely tell that she put her heart and soul into this. The lashes aren't really for me. I've been going for smaller lashes recently, but I think the palette is beautiful. As I'm filming this, the launch has already happened, and it was a very chaotic one, so I wasn't able to get my hands on this palette. I do think it's beautiful, so I may pick this one up at a later date. You know how I feel about Christie. Pure doesn't like me. They kicked me off the PR list many times, but I still want to get this collaboration. If not just to celebrate Christie, I think that the color schemes are beautiful. Next up, I'm not in the market for any new lip balms right now. I've got a ton to go through at the moment, but these new e.l.f. Ride or Die lip balms look so good. From the reviews that have come out, it seems that these are pretty equivalent to the glossierbalm.com lip balms. If you're wanting a less expensive version of that, these are $5 each. The colors look really pretty as well, and I think e.l.f. kind of picking it up again. I like to see what they're doing right now. So maintaining the strength to not buy any new lip balms. I think the next thing I get is going to be the Summer Fridays lip balm, and then maybe this one after that. And then the last thing I was looking at was the new Kylie Cosmetics bronzer sticks. These actually look really nice. There's one that's a little bit more cool tone, which looks kind of like a contour, but $16, which I think is actually a really good price, especially for Kylie, which is weird because their Kendall palette was pretty expensive, I feel. Kind of reminds me of like the Milk Makeup bronzer stick, and I'm very interested in this just because I know I really like Kylie's like powder cheek products. I feel like those those are really good formulas for not a ton of money from a high-end brand. So I would be interested in trying these out, but not super immediately because I don't need any new cream bronzers right now. Alright guys, that is it. I hope you guys enjoyed today's anti-haul in a little bit of a different format. I wanted to see how I would enjoy doing a get ready with me while filming an anti-haul. Was kind of chaotic, I'm so sorry. Thank you again to Odin's Eye for sponsoring part of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed your monthly anti-haul. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Make sure you are subscribed down below and follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Might have to cut that TikTok part out because TikTok might be gone by the time I post this. If you made it to the very end of this video, I love you very much. Thank you for sticking with me. I've had a rough week, so I'm in a very sentimental mood today, but I love you a lot. And if you made it to the very end of this video, you get the bonus meme. Love you.
Scientists were able to mimic Nessie Amun's voice by recreating his mouth and vocal cords with a 3D printer. It allowed them to produce a single sound.